It's got a lot to show you. Some of it was alluded to in the podcast in the form of the sensor car. I got an app to demo from one of the LCS partners, which in my opinion is going to be pretty big for you guys. We got some information from another LCS partner who's doing a PC Android interface. We'll go through that information. There's handouts over there on the table. I did not put out the handout for the app I'm demoing until afterwards because it's kind of a pretty neat thing and I want it to be a surprise. So over on the table there's a bunch of information. Before you leave, grab it. I want to thank Paula and her staff for organizing the room and taking care of you guys. So just make sure before you leave, make sure you pay them. And as always, a generous tip is a nice thank you for letting us use the room. So without further ado, I think we'll move on. A couple of standard, I don't know what you want to call them, but the Legacy Users Group is not affiliated with Lino, although we enjoy a very good working relationship with them. They're more than happy to share insights, some upcoming products, some new information. And some of that you'll get to see today. So the first thing I want to do is go through the questions that were put up on the OGR forum. John answered them the best he could. Some of them I'm probably going to go back to John and get a little bit of more information from them, which will be on the posted agenda when I post it on the OGR forum. And if I can get the iPad to cooperate. Yeah, maybe. I'm just kidding.
I'll be right back.
All right. First question, is there a maximum cable length for a run of LCS cabling combined length? And how many LCS devices can be supported at once? So basically the question is, between all these devices, there's various lengths of cable you can get. I think it's a foot, 10 foot, 20 foot. And the question is, once you string all these out, what is the supported length? Module to module cable length has been tested at 100 foot. No signal concern was noted. Should easily be good for 200 feet between modules. Also, we are planning to make a cable-to-cable joiner with optional power injection. The LCS modules each have a power requirement stated in the manuals, and each module type has a different rating. The number of modules with their current draw cannot exceed the power supply rating. We realize that additional power may be needed on larger setups, so this is why we will have an injection port on the cable joiner. It is important not to use a power supply with a higher current ratings, as the cabling will not handle the higher currents. So basically, and I've asked John this in the past, what happens if you're further out than 20 feet. So they're going to make basically a box that you can plug, I don't know what it's going to look like, but you can plug in 2 cables from either side, and it also sounds like there's a possibility of power injection into that box if you need more. When will the STM be available, and which switch machines does it support? Unfortunately, he did not answer which switch machines. I know it does support Fast Track. There's a small list in the manual that's already online, but the answer to this, the module is in production, and Mike may be able to answer this a little bit more exact, and will be available soon. The exact date is not something engineering knows, but I would hazard a guess between 3 and 4 months they will land at dealers. Is that
6 months.
6 months?
PO was issued 12 days ago.
All right. Can you demo the correct wiring to connect multiple uncoupling tracks and or other accessories to an ACS2 module? John's going to have the LCS site updated. I did include a small diagram that only does one. I'm going to draw up an example for the summary posted on the site with multiple tracks and multiple accessories. But right now, the one thing you want to remember, if you do an uncoupling track, you should really be using single ID address because it is a momentary. Otherwise, you could burn out your tracks. Any chance that they can tell us what new features OX3 unlock? And we've been wondering this since 1.53, and I'm pretty sure you're not going to be surprised at this answer.
No.
Sorry. We plan to announce the functionality at some point in the future, but we did receive information that the American Flyer Challenger reacts to this button by boosting. We are sorry about that bug in the Challenger, so please do not use OX3 on this button.
It doesn't have a function and it already has a bug?
Or maybe that's the function. You gotta look at it that way. When in train link mode, viewing and operating the linked cars in the train, hopefully I read that right, can the software be modified so that the velocity, knob, horn, whistle, slider, and train brake operate the engine in the train? Does this make sense? The way I'm reading this is if you're operating an engine and you have a sound car and you go in the train link and you access that sound card, you're running the sound card and calling out announcements, you still have control over the engine throttle, the horn, and the bell. This is possible and a bit of a problem as some train link products need the throttle, train crane for one, or track crane for one. We may be able to selectively control how the throttle is assigned. This is still on my list of items to explore and potentially make changes to the cab tube code. So it's not rolled out. I ask every year, and I know they do, but I would like a cab interior on-off button to be a master switch. For example, when the button is in the off position, the cab light will not come on when the engine stops or reverses directions. Switching moves look silly with the cab light constantly going off, in my opinion. Well, unfortunately, I reviewed this issue and sorry to say the change would involve changing locomotive software and as such would not be possible to fix from the cab remotes. I've extended the time after stopping before the cab light turns on, but I realize this is not what you're asking for. I don't see this changed on future products. What is the future of Legacy in light of the apparent success of Lion Chief? This is a marketing question and I do not have any insight to this topic. Swing by the Lionel booth at York swing by the Lionel booth at York and ask the marketing folks their opinions. My opinion, I do believe that Legacy is quite successful, so Lionel's fortunate to have many product lines and offerings we can be proud to deliver. When will we see an update to the LCS app? Need more track selections? I need to triple track a curve. Only 2 different curves to select from and they don't make a good double track curve. Way too many approximations that look bad on my LCS app. I'm not looking to do layout design with it, but it needs to look good. Need to set switches so the divergent path is green and straight through is red. We constantly improve the LCS and iCab apps and take suggestions to heart. Understand LCS is not a layout tool, but more of a virtual control panel tool, as you noted. The question is, why do you want a divergent path to be green? What if we made the color say blue for both directions? The real visual message is the straight line or curved line, right? I can try to get some more information on that as far as the switch position. I don't know who, did somebody in here submit that question or is that just a forum question? Okay, I'll repost a question on the forum.
The divergent green would be the rain line taken at the divergent.
Okay.
That's why I want to.
Also, I know in the last version of LCS they did add a Y, so they are improving, so it doesn't hurt to ask. What happened to third-party apps for LCS? As I mentioned, we are demoing one and we do have information on the other. We have some serious developers on many levels. Not all development is centered on an app. I believe you will be seeing some of the handiwork of our developer folks at the LUG meeting, which you will be. Any plans for a block status monitor BSM? Not at this time, very simple answer. End of train detection. Currently in our product architecture and marketing permitting, some ideas have been submitted for development and productization. I didn't know that was a word. Any way to ID for older locos? And I assume this meant for the sensor track, and that's why I kind of put the sensor track. And I think yes is the answer. And we'll show that here in a few minutes. Will there be an app that will control automation? Anybody volunteering? I think part of this is, you know, they want the LCS partners to come up with some of this. So some of the stuff I've seen through the E-Train and the other app that we're showing, I'm pretty sure that that's going to be possible in the future. Is there any potential danger, problem, electronics-wide and beyond normal wear to running legacy engines for prolonged periods, say 4 to 6 hours at a stretch, keeping them properly lubricated and smoke units filled, of course, like overheating? I would say that environmental conditions are a big factor. Kennywood's pretty cold, so I don't think temperature is a factor. I know who this came from, and that's track voltage, load on the loco, etc. If you're pulling 100 rolling stock cars versus 10 rolling stock cars, the answer would be different as to the recommendation of the running session. In general, I like to recommend 2 to 3 hours and then give the loco a break. And this came from Andy. I don't know if your guys are familiar with the independent high rollers.
Pittsburgh
Independent High Rollers. They do a show at Kennywood Park, which is local in Pittsburgh, during December every weekend. And I've seen Andy run that locomotive 5-6 hours at a shot. Polar Express. So.
Yeah, we can't stop too often to change out equipment during that particular show.
My question is, using the new SER2, are the ASC2s used in the test? I don't know if you remember the picture last year with all the ASC2s lined up. Are the ASC2s used in the picture from last year? The older 24 ASC2s, ASCs that Lionel is currently selling. I believe they were the older version. If so, will Lionel be marketing newer ASCs, which is the ASC2, not requiring any add-on electronic resistors, so the one SER2 can run all the ASCs? Again, I'm not sure, and I already made a note to make a follow-up, but provided the pictures are the ASCs connected to the SER2, the ASCs were currently in the customer's possession for some time before I helped them wire the SER2. I'm not sure Lionel is selling ASCs, but I have a few I'd like to sell. Is ASCs currently a product still? Not the ASC2s?
I don't think we have any ASCs left in stock. I know I've got ETCs and OTCs in stock.
Okay.
Nothing for ASCs. That's all we replaced with ASC2s.
All right. I made a design change to the SER2 after my experience with the 24 ASC2 AS project. However, if any person experiences drive level issues, we can help folks resolve the problem. One of the frustrations with the older IC control product line had different serial loading requirements. Therefore, all situations are unique and not easily resolved. It's not a one design fits all. This is why we engineered and resolved all the loading booster need cable frustrations with the LCS modules. Also, as of right now, how many older Lionel devices will an SER2 actually run connected to the base with no other electronic gizmos? Again, basically, since all the different devices are different, it can't really be answered. Each of the older modules are unique. They priced the SER2 low to help folks make a minimum investment to resolve their serial bus loading issues, especially with the legacy-based serial drive level problems folks have experienced. You can use as many SER2s as you need to drive, and I think the price on that is like 30 bucks. I mean, it was pretty inexpensive. Can it work 12 BPCs and 8 TPCs as of right now? If this configuration worked on the base one, then it should work on the SER2 as the serial driver circuits are virtually the same. 5 and 8. Follow-up question from 2014 fall lug meeting. I asked if there are any plans to update the LCS app to control the various older AMCs, OTCs, with both operating and uncoupling functions. Response was John would ask Rudy to make a list of unsupported modules and revisions with the LCS app. We may be able to support some of the non-supported modules. Question is, any progress on supporting the currently non-supported modules? We have not made significant progress on this goal. We are in some cases unable to support the older modules, as the commands are not conducive to the newer command sets we are presenting a good user interface. We will endeavor to keep improving support in this area. This is a long one. Would Lionel release an external card writer for purchase that we could plug a RailSounds card into, attach the card with a downloadable file set? This external writer could plug into a laptop USB. Lionel could host the file sets online, and customers could download the file sets, perhaps for a fee, to a laptop, then install them on their RailSounds card. Clearly, this would be a lot of work for Lionel because they would have to host the files, create multiple versions, and to entice downloads. They can make money on the external writer downloads, though. Maybe they could create engine number specific file sets with cab dialog that people could purchase, or no cab dialog sets for those bothered by that. I know we would not be able to select a specific whistle or bell, but rather have select to download a complete file set. But I still think it'd be cool. Anybody thinks this would be worthwhile? I would pass along a big thank you for updating the LSU with switches, trains, routes. That is much appreciated. This is a tough one to say yes, as Lionel believes the number of folks who would open the loco and reprogram the sounds are fairly few and far between. I do not believe this idea will come to pass. You are most welcome, and now I feel bad I could not do more to accommodate your first request. When the LCS app boots up, and we can demo this because I've had the same issue, the power block icons, the little light bulbs, they show on even though your block may be off, and you'll have to hold the icon to get it synced up again. I think it'd be nicer if they boot to the off position. This is true no matter how the BPC is programmed. That using the feature of the BPC coming up in the position of how they were set on power down. The track icons come up in the off position. It seems perhaps there is a need to be a monitor for these other functions like the STM that is being proposed. Any comments? At least that's how my app is working. This used to work, and I'll look into what happened for the next LCS update. Also, the BPC2 above, this should work as long as the switch configuration type is ASC to BPC2. Some of the older modules support of this may be limited. This question also relates to comments about supporting older modules and having them fit into the operational UI and user experience. We simply can't deliver a good UI with some older technologies. We could make the monitor modules, however, we think it may be more cost effective to simply buy their modules instead of a monitor module for an older IC product. So that's the root of the questions. Has anybody seen the new LSU app as it transfers layouts? I know that was a big thing for a lot of guys using multiple iPads. So if you had a club, or if you had friends over to your layout and they bring their iPad, they have the LCS app. Before this, in the old days, you used to have to, okay, now I got to build your railroad and go through the whole thing. So currently, on this app, or on this iPad, I have the demo board. Oops, give some power there, we can throw the switches. My fingers have to turn on the blocks. But the problem is, I come over your house or you come over my house and I have a pretty good design of of a siding or whatever, and now you gotta sit there and build it. Well, now the good news is you can simply transfer it. So you'll come up to a blank screen. I already obviously have it on here once, but you'll come up to a blank screen and it'll ask, make your own or use another. Tap use another. Now it's waiting, and you can do this on multiple iPads. You can have like 3 or 4 guys. They all get into this mode where they're waiting for another. On the sender, you tap LCS. In about 10-15 seconds, it received control panels. Hit save. So now, and you can see these came on in the on position, kind of like in the question. But now, no longer do you have to waste time building if you go over a buddy's house. As long as he has it built on his iPad, you just shoot it across the network. So that's, and I've done multiple layouts. I've transferred multiple layouts between iPads back and forth, and works real good. Works real good. The other thing, real quick, that I wanted to discuss. Actually, I could use this. We're going to go through one of the LCS partners, and that would be that one. It would be the E-Train console. This is forum member Harvey Ackermans. Started a thread on the OGR forum. I noticed it got locked. I kind of suspect because he had some links to eBay for purchasing his app. Basically, this is a PC resident device. Gives you all the stuff you want to do from your cab on the screen. You can make trains. You can basically anything you can do from a cab to you can do via this console. There's a list of all the different features. I'm not going to go through the list. Kind of over talking. I welcome anyways. You can do all your Vision Line ethanol cars. It's a very fully functional computer program. It interfaces with an Android, but it only talks across the SCR serial bus, so you got to be connected serially right now. But I don't know if any of you guys have this yet or played with it, but it looks fairly robust. I was going to do a demo of it, but I didn't have enough time, in my opinion, to download it, play with it, and give it a good enough talk about. So what I did is I asked Harvey to print off, and they're over on the table, a small flyer for them. So that is one of the LCS partners.
Can you use the iPad with it then?
No, it's PC-based or Android as of right now. There's a list of requirements down at the bottom. Like I said, I haven't played with it yet. I wish I could have. I'm going to try purchase it after York and start playing with it. And in the fall, we plan on doing a pretty good demo of it. All right, I'm going to demo this real quick because I think this is something we've all been waiting for. This is something since the sensor track has come out and made the scene that we've all asked about. This is a prototype. This is, John sent me this. Basically, I think it was a Hot Wheel car, you know, the hot box car, pickup rollers. If you look on the bottom, there's a little hole, program run switch, sensor sticking out the little hole. Nothing really overly complicated about it. It does require new cab code, which I'm running currently. Basically, you pick the engine you want to pair it with. This engine is an older one, no sensor on it whatsoever. It's the 8510. I'm going to bring this up on the iPad real quick too, so we get the full demo of this, because again, this is pretty cool stuff. program run switch, you program the car to the same ID without doing the program run set on the engine. Leave that alone. Come to the car, put it in program, do the ID 10. In this case, hit set. The car programs is the same ID as the engine. Within the info, you're probably gonna, and whether this changes or not, there's a little TXIR. Probably can't see it from back here, but if you come up later, you can take a look. When you push that, that binds the information from that engine spot into the car. So now, if you watch when that goes across the sensor track, it's just like any other engine with a sensor going across it. Tells you the direction, tells you the name, tells you the ID. Currently, it does not do fuel like a regular engine, but it does everything else the sensor card does. Triggers the sensor track. You can do record, you can do playback. I've had it on a TMCC engine. Standard TMCC engine will display because now it's all coming off the sensor card. I've done some crazy things where I've had the car that's assigned to that engine running on another train. So when that car goes across, the engine blows on the other track. I mean, there's a lot of play value. You can do a lot of things with it because now you're truly not, that sensor is not bound to that engine or that train in such a physically. Electronically it is, so if you put it on another, if you pull it with another train and it's still ID'd to your first train, it'll blow the whistle on the first train still. So until once you pair it though, to whatever engine, it's assigned to that engine and does everything that that engine does.
So you're saying if you assign it to a TMCC engine, it's sending TMCC compatible?
No, well, that's the one caveat, thank you.
Okay.
When it does roll over, it won't trigger the legacy commands. Obviously, the sensor track puts out legacy. So what I've done is I created a recording. So to trigger whistle or bell on a TMCC engine using the sensor or the sensor car, box car with a TMCC engine. Yeah, that's the only way you can do it. You got to create a recording for that.
Do you know if they're going to monitor the fuel eventually?
John says he's going to try to do that. He's working on that.
Will components that are in the car be available for as an upgrade kit so that you can install those, say, in a scale-sized car or something like that?
I would say no, because listening to the podcast, they're going to do a semi-scale car and a scale car, and you trade the shells as you please. Mike probably has more information on that, but I got that from the podcast.
Didn't I say that on the podcast?
Yes, you did.
I have no more.
I was going to try to put the old TMCC Trainmaster shell on here, but unfortunately it pops on and this one had a screw. I thought that would kind of be a cool thing. What's our time here? I don't want to go, I want to give Mike some time. So I got one other thing to show. I'm going to have, I have an assistant here. Well, he wouldn't wear the sequin dress I got him, so.
Yeah, we talked about that. He didn't tell me until last night. I said I would have brought one more.
This is probably one of the cooler things that I've been playing with the last few weeks. This is Brian Coiner, who's on the forum. This is his app. How many people got sensor tracks? What's the one thing you hate about them? They all got to be near where you can touch them. You can't change anything. It kind of stinks. Yeah, it does. It doesn't stink anymore. Pull the car across the track. Might have to go the other way though. Okay. Bell rings. I don't want the bell to ring in there. I want it to do something different. It stops ringing. Try now.
This is 8510. We are on the move. Over.
Notice
Well,
no
you know
hands
what?
behind my back.
I want to blow the whistle now because, well, I put a crossing set back there and roll across. Oh, wait, I want to do a recording. I don't want to touch that button either because that sensor track's in the back. Load up the record screen. I'm not going to have you do it because I'm not going to sit there and do a whole recording. So basically you get this screen, this is a ready. Hit the record button, it's armed. You'll notice a green, yellow, and red dot under there. If you were to roll that car across there, the green light would come on. As you do commands, about 2/3 of the way in, the yellow light comes on. It tells you you're about 2/3 of the way through your recording. When you got about 10 to 20 commands left, the red light comes on, it tells you you need to end your recording. Once it stops, you roll over, it'll do a playback. You can stop your playback from here, you can start your playback from here. I don't even know, let's see if I even got any. I'm a little concerned about where I left off the record, the last playback I did. But we can, so we're going to take the chance. Playback in progress now. I don't know what the last, I think actually I just did some whistle blows and stuff like that. Switch is thrown. I'm going to turn off some blocks on and off. This was just something I did the other night while I was setting up for the demo. And at any time, I can stop. The other really cool thing about this is I got 47, probably 40 is an exaggeration. I got 5 sensor tracks. I don't remember what that sensor track number is. If you tap and hold, the green light lights up. So now you can identify the programming light lights up. And that is true with all these modules. If I go to any one of these modules, I can identify it by tapping and holding. Again, this is in his early stages. He's getting ready to release this part of the app. It connects via the Wi-Fi. I want to get to some of his talking points here in a second just to make sure I covered everything. The other thing about the sensor track is, as of right now, you can also change the ID on it. Again, so if it's in your back of your layout, and typically you probably wouldn't do this once your ID is set, I would think you pretty much set it, but if for some reason you need to set your ID, you can do it from this app. You change the ID, hit set, and you're all changed up. So I don't know about you guys, but to me, this was one of the bigger things I think that came along in a while, and I think also, excuse me while I get to the notes, I think it will enable Lionel to sell more sensor tracks, to be honest with you. So I just want to cover things that he wanted me to. One tap recording, you saw that. Tap it, roll it across. Monitor how much through the red, or the green, yellow, and red lights. Again, the green is you start it, the yellow is 2/3 of the way, red is about 20 commands less. You saw how easy it was to end the sensor, just hit stop. Change the ID, just went over that. Quickly how we identified the hardware just by tapping on the screen. One other thing that he wants me to, oh, and once you're all hooked up, the app finds everything that you've had hooked up. You don't have to enter all that. So if we go back to the app real quick. All these devices that are here, the app found. And one of the things you can do is, if you have the sensor tracks and you want to name it something specific, say it's at the back of the layout on track 1, you can go back and edit all of that. So it really gives you a much better handle on the sensor track. You don't have to be here. You don't have to touch it. I mean, obviously, I was 30 feet away from the sensor track, and I did everything I wanted to the sensor track. I don't know about you guys. That's a game changer for me. Because everybody I've talked to that has sensor tracks, well, they're great, but I got to keep them where I can touch them. Not anymore. That's pretty much my presentation.
What's your name? Bryce, your name?
The name is Hi-Rail. Let me get back to you. And thank you.
You got handouts, right?
Like I said, I was kind of holding these back because I wanted to go through the demo first. If you want to separate those and pass them along. Now this is only the beginning of this app. The price is to be determined. He asked me how much I thought it was worth. I was I kind of think I lowballed him, but I think $10 for this app because now, again, this is a first part of this app and there's going to be more to come. And I'm not sure how he's going to price stuff like that. I suggested 10 bucks. That was my thought. I've asked around to some other people in my area what they thought it would be worth. Some guys even threw out 20 bucks to be able to put sensor tracks wherever they want. So,
I think it ought to come with the sensor tracks.
well, that would be between a Lionel and him. He is an LCS partner. I've been talking to Brian on the phone. He's working. This is basically a side job for him. He's been working on it for a while, and personally, I think what he's got out so far, again, is a game changer to me. So,
No, I was at the DCS meeting the other night.
Hey, hey!
And,
Hey, what are you
I
talking
went
about?
to the dark side. But it seems like MTH and Lion, they're starting to get a lot of this computer programming stuff and putting these apps on your iPhone. Now, everybody here probably has a smartphone, can operate their TV from their smartphone. But how many of you actually do that and just use the remote that you have? I mean, I can see this, you techno guys, are all into this stuff. I'm lucky I get my email half the times. So, I'd like to see, I know you techno guys like this stuff, but I think I'm going to stick with my remote because that's the easiest thing for me to operate. Maybe I'd like to see some improvements in that, maybe.
I agree. I mean, I'm not necessarily, I don't want to control my trains from an app. Unfortunately, with doing the demonstrations and that, I get a lot of stuff to test and feedback, and I use it. And for an emergency or for a quick thing, I'm fine with using it. I'm not really a good train runner with it, but to do control layouts like this and be able to change a sensor track and to be able to maybe draw up a little screen like we do, I think that's pretty big. So without further ado, if Mike's still in the house, I saw him come in and go back out. I'll stretch. Maybe one other thing I'll show you. One of the things too is the app will find automatically your network, but if it doesn't, you can actually add the address yourself. But I tap it, it goes. You can also name your Wi-Fi module. There is an info button on all these modules. It gives you some basic information. Probably most people won't use it, but you never know. I'm not going to roll it out, but again, any of the pre-selected are all now at your fingertip. Sensor track can be buried, playback, record function again. Green locks, yellow 2/3, red. Better stop. And interestingly enough, it will say when it gets to red, end your recording. It's time to stop. So,
Marty, if you have something already recorded, does it pick that up?
no. And well, I don't know that. And one of the things that hopefully in the future, once you get a lot of these, I just don't see how this could be a bad thing for us. So And I told Brian when he told me about it, I'm like, and he had some other things going on. I'm like, dude, just the sensor track part of it is worth the price of admission for me. So, Mike, you got anything you want to, any questions for Mike, or if Mike has any things to add? And when we're done, we can, like I said, I like to try to get done. I probably went a little longer than I usually do. 8:45 if you guys want to start taking off to the meeting, and I'll stay around if you want to see anything, or the meet, and I'll stay around and show anything you want to see. So.
Thanks, Marty. Okay, a couple quick updates for you. TPC 300s and 400s are discontinued. They're being replaced by 360 watt Legacy Power Masters. They'll be out the end of the year. They've got 2 of the Molex connectors on the front end and a switch on the side that allows you to select 15 amp, 20 amp. A couple things about them. Number one, you can't mix 180s and 135s, so you can't get somewhere in between. It's either 2 135s into it, put it in 15 amp mode, or 2 180s into it, put it in the 20 amp mode. It's a Legacy Power Master. It's just like the Legacy Power Master we have out now, but it's got the 15 and 20 amp capability. Couple improvements that we've made to it from the TPC. It does everything that the TPC once did in terms of programming. The 180 watt powerhouses will probably be out in the marketplace in early 16. We discovered that the design circuit for that thing is somewhere that we don't know where it is. So we had to start all over. In order to start all over and meet UL requirements, we had to basically redesign it. Engineering is working on redesigning that entire circuit breaker so it works more efficiently. So 180 watt powerhouses, if you can find them in the market, snag them. If you can't, like I said, probably early 16 before we have those out. And then also the powerhouse lock-on, same problem as the powerhouse. We have no idea where the design files for that are, so we basically reverse engineered our own technology to come up with that circuit again so we can build it, document it properly, and those should be out maybe close to the end of the year.
Calling the TMCC lock-on, is that the one you're talking about?
Yeah, the powerhouse lock-on, where you just take, it's got that quick flow fuse in it. What else? No, got any questions? Okay, good talk, thanks. Yes, sir.
Will the smoke flow motor eventually show up in the what kind of stupid mode?
Will it have a what? A stupid mode? No, stupid mode is reserved only for sensor tracks. Have you guys heard that story yet? This is really good. So, Ryan and I walked into the engineering room. It used to be before we built this engineering room in North Carolina, Ryan and I would have to hump like a quarter mile to the archives to get to our playtest layout where we could test product. And over the holiday season, we built a layout in the engineering room, so we only have to walk like 30 feet to run trains. So it's not like when I was in service, I could come out of my office and just run train. So anyway, we're in the engineering room, and our CFO comes in, Chris comes in, and I'm running the 460. I just gotten the sample, the production sample in from China. We're running it, and I said, "No, check this out. This is pretty cool, Chris." So I took the cab and put it in cab 1 mode, and I'm running it. And I could have been saying all of this in Arabic. You had no clue what I was talking about. But I'm like, you know, look, I only get what I get when I blow the whistle. I can't quill it. And I only got 32 speed steps, and this is what's happening. And I said, now watch the remote. Watch the remote. I don't want you to watch the engine. Just watch the remote. And the engine's coming down the track, and you know, it's like speed step 5. It's taking forever. And it runs over the sensor track. And all of a sudden on the cab, poof, it jumps into legacy mode, just like you loaded the memory module, right? Road name, road number, Steam, legacy rail sound. It's all set up in the cab, instantaneous. He looks at me and goes, "That's neat. What do you call that? Stupid mode?" And I'm like, yeah, how do we market that? So if any of you guys need a stupid mode on your layout, buy a sensor track. It's really quite cool, because we run into that a lot in service. You know, you get guys, I just got my repair bag and it doesn't work, and it's like, okay. You go through the whole engine menu setup, and you know they're sending 9-bit commands to a TMCC1 engine, and we suck. We're the devil. And, so, yeah, stupid mode.
Mike, question on the Powerhouse 180, the new one.
Yep.
Somebody mentioned that it was going to have a quote self-resetting circuit breaker, not like it is now.
That's all engineering. You know, unless that came from John's mouth, it's somebody making a rumor.
Okay. I'd like to put in a vote not to do that.
Yeah, understood. Understood. You might want to give that tidbit of advice to John.
Yeah.
Something else popped into my head.
Another nice feature on that 180 Powerhouse, or the brick itself, be able to kill the power and have it reset itself, instead of having it be stuck off. It's pretty nice today.
That's what he doesn't want it.
Reference something
You do
different
want
then,
it.
or?
No, right now the Powerhouse goes off and you have to reset it. And I like that because if it goes off, I want to find out why.
Totally agree, but I like the other feature too, that if you kill the power, it resets itself. Which,
Yeah,
I don't know
yes.
if everybody else uses that. That's a
Yeah,
pretty big
that-
deal. It's located in the EV location. I can hook up whatever I want, I'm powered, power back up, and I'm able to take it out, so.
You know, Mike, I have a reverse engineered schematic for that if you want.
That's fantastic.
Great way to kill intellectual property.
Yeah, no doubt. Our patent attorneys will be in touch with you soon. Something else popped into my head. It left.
You always done the sign of CRS.
Oh yeah, I'm suffering from CRS pretty bad.
That's for old people, not you guys.
I'm there, I'm catching up.
While you're thinking, Mike, sensor track.
Oh, that's it.
Also have guardrails and things like that.
Yes, thank you. That's what I was thinking of. So sensor tracks. The sample is actually sitting on the pallet outside of our offices right now. It just came in from China. We changed the tooling on the sensor track roadbed so that it gives you the O-gauge pins on the ends, tubular pins. So it doesn't have the fast track snap-in ends on it. It's just got three rails with holes in it. So you can take, if you're using Guardrates or Ross or Atlas or whatever you're using, just take their mating pins that go from their track system to O-gauge, plug it in, and you're still going to have the gray roadbed. And the reason for this is the placement of those two IR receivers, where they're placed in relationship to the height of the rail and in between the rails is very critical to getting the track IR transmission to work reliably. We did discuss internally making these circuit boards available for other manufacturers for them to go out and do it with their stuff, and it just didn't make sense logistically and from a production standpoint for us. So what we did is we modified that roadbed so that you've got O-gauge compatibility. So if you're running tubular track, you've got a 5-inch section of fast track that's got the IR sensor in it. So you have all that capability, but with whatever track system you're using.
Is there any thought process into selling one of those without that roadbed? Because they were kind of silly putting that on without using other track systems.
Yeah, that's what I just explained about. So there was a thought process, and the answer was no.
No, but why? I know what you just said, but why would the IR sensors you hook into the track and put something else here instead of the gray roadbed? You know, replace the gray roadbed with something else that is not as.
I mean, I was going to say it, but
Ballast again.
you know, you could, you know, if you're really that much against the roadbed, we do sell O-gauge straight tunnels that you could stick over top.
There you
go. We even have O-gauge curved tunnels too. We're pretty hard sellers.
Mike?
Yes, sir.
For the TPC replacement, they're going to do everything, including manufacturers, they have conventional controls for couplers and noise?
Yes.
Okay.
For your PS1 stuff?
Well, you can run PS2 or PS3 if you want.
I got to be honest with you, right? The day I left TAS, I never touched another one, so I couldn't tell you. PS1, PS2, but yes, all of the same programming that was in the TPC is in the Legacy PowerMaster.
They're going to have
the Legacy PowerMaster we have out now, as well as the 360-watt PowerMaster.
They're going to have a current control, so if something shorts out, it's going to have a fast disconnect, or
No, we've set that up so that it just shorts your engine out completely, burns it out, and then you have to buy the electronic power.
So that's more business to fill.
What's that?
Welds itself to the track?
No, that's what the CWL's for.
Okay.
Well, the CWC is your home-based welding business if you use all 480 watt bricks. But yeah, of course, it's got the fold back technology like the CWL does. So it'll pull it back before it kicks the breaker out, and then it'll try to apply power if the short still exists. It pulls it back, and then eventually it kicks your powerhouse out if it doesn't get corrected. So that's where we are. So the GLA hoppers that we just received on Monday, the 86-foot box cars, and the N5B cabooses, those are all made by this new factory, and they're doing a great job. So
Thanks for answering.
yep, no problem. Yes, sir.
You answered his question. You forgot the smoke fluid loader part.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, so
That's
smoke
what
fluid
I'm trying
loader,
to
the
see.
purchase order is finally issued to the factory. It's on the schedule to be built in December, which means we should have it January, February of 16. That's one of those projects that come up in meetings and everybody wants to kill it because it hasn't delivered. And we keep pushing, no, we need to make this, So it's like the redheaded stepchild of the Lionel product line. It is actually being produced. Like I said, it goes into production December of 15 and should be in early 16, and thank God, get that off my schedule.
I got the original, what's the word?
The target price point was whatever it was priced at in the catalog.
I was wondering if you were changing it based on different factory moves and stuff like that.
No, that's part of the issue with projects like this, right? You catalog it before at a price point because you think you did all your homework, but then when you actually get into doing it, the history of that smoke fluid loader is really bad. I mean, we had a factory that cut all the tools for it. We paid for all the tooling to the tune of like $130,000. They went out of business. Somehow the tools disappeared. The drama is just unbearable. So we're going to lose our ass when we make the smoke fluid loader, but I keep bringing it up because it's like, look, I'm tired of cataloging things and then canceling them. So we're going to catalog them or we're going to deliver them because this is how you build faith in a consumer population with a manufacturer, so that when you put stuff in a catalog and they actually order it instead of, well, let's see if they cancel it, I won't order it. And the orders aren't big enough and you can't. So,
All right, guys.
Thank you, Marty.